Today we're talking about how to survive and thrive at public speaking. Now, if you have a fear of public speaking, it's real. Maybe it's the build up before your presentation. It could be the 10 minutes before, the day before, or when you first hear it. Maybe it's the physical signs that you're receiving, or maybe it's just a blur because your body takes over. I know when I used to be super nervous about public speaking, my shoulders, my shoulders would bounce up and down. Um, and I would walk around. If I had room and I'm not sitting down, I would literally walk back and forth and I would pace back and forth and my shoulders would go up and down. And that's why I'm so glad that we have Linda Ugelow here today to help you become a better speaker and also help you with your speaking anxiety. Now, Linda believes that if you feel called to make the world a better place, fear of public speaking should not hold you back. She has helped hundreds of new and seasoned professionals across the world get comfortable in their own skin on stage and on camera. A presentation and confidence coach and international speaker, she's been featured in Money Magazine, Thrive Global, and NYLON. Linda is so excited to help you get over your speaking anxiety so that you can get your big ideas out there, make a difference, and have fun doing it. Linda, welcome. So glad to have you on with us today.
It's always fun to be with you, Kit.
Yeah. Well, Linda, let's get down to it. How can we just not survive at public speaking, but how can we start thriving? I know it's a big topic.
It's a big topic, and in fact, I've just finished the manuscript of my book, Delight in the Limelight, which goes through the whole process that I have come to believe really helps people who are finding themselves kind of falling through the cracks in the public speaking world, whether that's speaking live or on camera, because they feel like everybody else seems to know how to feel confident or projects confidence, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with them. So,
yeah. Well, Linda, when is your book coming out?
it's September.
September.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what I think is, one of the conversations which I haven't really heard much about is that if you feel uncomfortable being seen, there's a reason for it. And I think that's why it gets confusing when people go to get better at public speaking, because they think that, all I need to do is to learn the craft. I need to create great content. Once I know exactly what to say, once I know how to deliver it well, and I get experience doing that, I'll be good to go. But if that was the case, then we wouldn't have the problem that we have with so many people feeling afraid. And I believe that's the reason for that is that the fear of being seen and not feeling safe being seen is separate from how do we become better speakers.
Got it. Now, when you are talking about being seen, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that when we grow up, let's take little kids. When little kids express themselves, we love watching them because they're so unself-conscious. They're just freely self-expressive. And then over time, as they go through school, they become less and less so until you get to teenagehood and everybody is inhibited and they're worried about how they look and if they're going to be accepted or included or rejected or all sorts of things. So the issue is that when you're afraid of being seen, it's because at some point from between when you're like a toddler or a youngster and you get older, you have experiences that have made you believe that it's not safe to be seen. So maybe you were ridiculed, maybe you were diminished, maybe you were embarrassed in school, maybe you were punished, maybe you were told to be quiet at home, maybe you were told you don't know what you're talking about. Any number of things can happen that lead to you feeling like it's safer to hide.
Got it. Well, what do you think, Linda? This brings up the question. When it comes to having a fear of public speaking, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that people are making when it comes to the fear of speaking?
Yeah, I think that first of all, the first mistake is thinking that some people can do it and some people can't. I think that's a mistake because people are coming from it from this place of fear and they think, oh, I can't do this. So, but other people can. So it's kind of like some people can and some people can. And I think that's a mistake because you may inside of you feel like you have an impact to make. You may want to be part of the conversation. You may have ideas and expertise that you want to share with others. And you can get over this fear to the other side and be part of the world in the way you want to be. So that's the first mistake, thinking that you either have it or you don't. And as you know, because you're a public speaking coach, you can absolutely develop the skills. You develop how to write great content and how to deliver it well. And that's something that you do really well, Kit. Another misconception is that getting enough experience will get you over the fear. And unfortunately, I mean, that would be great if it was true. And I used to believe that too until it became evident that it wasn't, because for instance, I had an experience going on live stream when it first came out. It was an app called Periscope. And I found it terrifying, but I thought, okay, I'm going to do this every single day and I'm going to get over it because I'll do it a whole lot and then I'll be confident. And so I did it day after day, week after week, month after month. Finally, in the third month, I'm thinking, oh my God, why is my heart still pounding? And then it occurred to me, I guess this isn't true. And then when I started to think about it, there's so many people who've been public speaking for years. I know many personally who say they still get nervous and they just assume that that's par for the course. You know, you get nervous and you manage it. The problem with that is that you're having to manage it each and every time. And that gets draining. And it also, in my opinion, pulls away from how good you can be, because if you're feeling pulled away by managing your fear, then that's taking your attention away from how you can be really present and helping the people that you're speaking to. So those are two of ways.
Linda, what is causing this fear? I know it must be different for everyone, but does it go back to that feeling of being seen? But what causes it?
Yes, absolutely. And it is, you're right, it's different for everybody. You know, some people, for me, it was when I first came to this realization, because I was so kind of annoyed and disgruntled about having to deal with this every day. I was live streaming daily. When I stopped to listen, what is this fear trying to tell me? What came back immediately was, I'm going to be attacked. And then the memory came of when I was little and my sisters used to attack me every time my mom put me in the center of attention. So I was a goody-goody because I saw them get punished and I thought, that's never going to happen to me. So dishes were asked to be cleaned. I was, at the ready. Clean up your room. I did it right away, not my sisters. So whenever my mom said, why can't you girls be like Linda? That was their cue to attack me. And, they'd kick me, call me stupid, tell me to shut up, pin me on the floor, tickled me till I cried. I was laughing, but I was crying. And that was my story. That was one of my stories. I had a number of things that happened to me that, made me feel like I should kind of lay low. I didn't want to be seen because I didn't want to get called on in class when I didn't know the answers. I didn't want to, I had been bullied in school, so I didn't want people to notice me. So all those kinds of things. And I know that there are other people out there who resonate with this. That may be that they also got bullied, or they were pressured to perform in school before they were ready, or they saw other people being ridiculed or other people being bullied. How does that make you feel? It makes you feel like, oh, I better not stand out, which is unfortunate because when you're a speaker, you want to stand out.
It seems like there's always this backstory that everyone might have that causes this fear
Yeah.
of speaking.
Yeah.
I know that One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, I would love to hear your response to this. How long does it take to ease this anxiety? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I'd say it depends. So I have helped people over the course of a long weekend for a 4-day retreat where they got over it. I have helped people in 5 sessions, private sessions or 8 sessions. Right now, I've been running a program called the Speakers Breakthrough Comfy on Camera. We do this a little bit longer. It's a 10-week program, but by and large, people are, if not completely over, I mean, many people are, but if they're not, they're feeling significantly better, in ways that they couldn't have imagined at the beginning. So that may seem long or that may seem short, but when you think of being afraid for a decade or 2 or 3 decades, a couple of months is, I think, a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not always getting more opportunities, but is it going deep psychologically? Is that what you're also saying? It's
Yes, it is. It's psychological, but it's not kind of like therapy where you have to talk things through and figure things out. And it's more that you want to understand. Louise Hay, who wrote many books, Hay House, people, you might know the publishing company, said if you want to clean the house, you got to see the dirt. And I feel that same way here. If you want to bring yourself up to the present, if you don't want to get triggered anymore, you got to look at what is it that is triggering you. You've got to discover the stories that maybe, you think, oh my God, that's so long ago. Like my sisters, I'm great friends with my sisters. And I thought, could this be true? But when I felt into it, I realized, oh my God, it is. I still feel like if I succeed, if I stand out, they're not going to love me.
Mm.
I had no idea. It didn't even cross my mind that I was carrying that. But that's what happens, because when we're young, Kit, we're impressionable and things get imprinted in our bodies, in our emotional neurophysiology. So even though it may not be in our conscious mind, our body remembers, our emotions remember.
Wow.
So just to finish what you asked about, is it a matter of going back in the past? Yes,
Mhm.
it's a matter of identifying it, but you can't just leave it at that. You've got to clear it away. You got to resolve it so it's no longer triggering you.
Yeah. I like that quote that you shared. If you want to clean the house, you have to see the dirt. I might steal that from you and use that one
I
day.
never, if you take your glasses off and you're trying to clean the kitchen, I mean, good luck.
Linda, what's the framework to doing all of this? And I'm just going to ask if you can use this framework on me. You don't have to. I'm just saying that we can just share some examples that we can walk through. I think the audience will love that. But
Yeah.
what's your framework to really get over this?
Yeah, so I have 3 parts to my framework. The first one is what I call reveal and heal. So that's what we've just been talking about. What are the stories and the experiences that may have made you feel like it wasn't okay for you to show up as you are, to express yourself freely, to be the center of attention, and clear that away. And the second part is to restore a sense of safety, because if you feel afraid, you don't feel safe. And that comes from that requires going inside your head and changing the way you are creating safety for yourself, which is shorthand for meaning that you have to deal with your inner critic. And also to become aware of how you surround yourself with a safe environment. Now, that's not always needed to do in a tangible way, but I think it definitely helps. And then the third part is to repattern. So let's say I loved your image of pacing and your shoulders going up. I mean, I know you're a dancer, so I just think, like that's your way of having your energy flow through and your nervous energy flow through. So when you have a habit of being a certain way all of your life, you need to replace that with a new habit. That's what I call repatterning. So it could be on a relaxation level in your body. So if you have a habit of you turn the camera on and you go, oh, then you've got to replace that with actual relaxation. Like turn the camera on and say, okay, Now I'm going to relax. Close my eyes. I'm going to relax my eyes. I'm going to relax my shoulders. I'm going to relax my belly all the way. And you practice relaxation. You practice what does it feel like to connect with other people. You practice what confidence feels like in your body. What does it feel like to be connected with your voice? How can you play with expressing yourself in new ways that go beyond how you might have expressed yourself in the past? So that's repatterning. So which part do you want to play with, kid? Let's do some.
Wow. First of all, Linda, can you repeat all of those? So there's three parts. Can you repeat the names of those three parts?
Reveal and heal.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Reveal and heal.
Review and heal.
Restore safety. And repattern.
So when you say restore safety, what do you mean by that? Can you go a little bit into that again?
Yes. So we tend to worry about what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say. But the truth is, there's no harsher judge than the one we have in our own head. So if you're saying to yourself, oh my God, that was so stupid. Who do you think you are? You'll never be good enough. You don't know what you're doing. I mean, these things sound commonplace when you hear them inside your head. But if you say it out loud to somebody else, you realize, oh my God, I would probably, I mean, unless you're abusive, you probably wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that to someone you cared about. And so why do you want to carry it inside yourself? Because if you said that to somebody, they would like look at you as a bullyish kind of a person. You're not safe around a bully. You're not going to be safe inside yourself having that bullyish voice. So you need to find a way to mature that voice. And I feel that that voice is actually not, that's not what it came out from the factory with. I think that voice is actually a wise voice of judgment, but it gets wounded along with your woundedness as in your growing up years, so that you start to adopt these words that really may not even be your own, or it's your way of protecting yourself or dealing with the difficulty in the times. So it absolutely, that voice can be healed. You can become your biggest supporter. So that all parts of you are on the same side, playing the same goal.
Yeah, yeah. So walking through these different process and steps that you have, what's the time frame? Of course, it depends on everyone, but is there usually, for example, now I'm going back to the time because I know some of our audience might be thinking, okay, now review and heal, but how long does that take? And then go to the next step and then go to the next step. Is
Right.
it you?
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
So I feel like when I was talking about earlier, you asked me how long does it take to get over, the fear. I really feel that the reveal and the heal and the restore safety, that's what I was talking about. In my 10-week program, we cover all those things. Repatterning, I think, is lifelong. And it's the fun. I mean, there are things like if you want to change the sound of your voice, you want to change the way you relate to your voice. I mean, you could do that in several months. You can do that I've been taking voice lessons for 40 years. But I think the problem and the reason why I never really, one is that I enjoy it. So I'm going to probably continue to take it. But I felt that for decades, I didn't really move forward because I hadn't dealt with the past. Because every time I sang, I was trying to get over that hump of my fear in order to try to build skills. It's so hard to build skills when you're in a fearful place. So I recommend, if you have a fear of speaking, to deal with that first. That's what you can do in a long retreat weekend with me, or in 10 weeks or shorter. And then you can take other classes you give programs. I have programs on how to think on your feet, spontaneous speaking, how to love and transform the sound of your voice, how to watch yourself on video without cringing, all these things that you can practice delivery, you can practice content building. All these things are going to make you a better public speaker. But if you're having to get over that hump in order to build your skills, it's going to take a lot longer.
Linda, tell us about your 10-week program. Is it coming up? Tell us if people are interested, where can they find out more information
Well,
about
you
that?
can find out what my available courses are on my website, lindaugelow.com. I am right now, I don't know when I'm going to run that 10-week program again. I'm just finishing up one right now, probably in maybe May. What I'm going to be releasing next, which I'm really excited about, is a DIY your speaking confidence, so that you have the ability to go through this process on your own through a step-by-step guided process that includes journaling, that includes creative visualization, that includes releasing techniques and movement. Like you, Kit, love to move, and I feel like it holds a lot of possibilities for healing and integrating our all kinds of experiences that we want to shift.
Ah, that's great. And Linda, if they want to find out more about you, where's the best website or social media to go to?
Well, Linda Ugelow, Ugelow. There's no other Linda Ugelow out there, so I'm pretty easy to find either my website or social media.
That's great. Great. Well, Linda, if you don't mind, I would love to play around with one of those areas.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. What do you want to
does,
do?
does it matter which one you go in first, or?
It doesn't. Do you have something did something come to mind as I was speaking that you related to in your life?
Well, I want to relate this back to speaking.
Yes, I mean, well, that's what I mean. But like as I was speaking about, let's say, early experiences of feeling on the outside, or feeling pressure to perform, or not good enough, or any of these things. Did you have any of those that you wanted to kind of explore?
I can tell you one thing my wife was telling me that I'm having a problem with my communication skills. And no, and this is serious because this is the way I communicate. So she says I explain, oh no, I talk more with examples. So when I give definitions and explain things, I usually give examples first instead of really just explaining. And this is one of my faults. I really don't just sometimes explain things, if that makes sense.
No, I'm not quite following. Can you give me an example?
Okay. So when I try to explain things like I'm doing now, I usually go into examples. So for example, if someone wants to talk about, I was explaining a time loop. You know the 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 time loop. What's that movie called? Groundhog's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So she's like, what is the time loop? And I gave another example to explain a time loop. And I told her, hey, for example, have you heard of the frog in the boiling water? If you put a frog that's already in boiling, in cold water, and you turn the stove and it's boiling, the frog would boil to death. Versus if you put a frog already in water that's boiling, the frog would jump out. So it seems like most of us have been stuck and we don't know what's going on and we're stuck in that time loop. But then again, I didn't really give a sentence or two to explain the definition of a time loop or that pattern. I gave another example. If this is making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, I would say that is an example of a craft and skill, and like how people learn best and how you can communicate the information best to them. So I would put that into like public speaking skills. And
Hmm.
so I don't think that's something that, I mean, it may be habitual because that's kind of like you've gotten good feedback in the past. You kind of enjoy that way of presenting material, and now you're coming across somebody, your wife, who says, actually, the way you explain that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, yeah. Not as much as a fear. Well, maybe I'm afraid to say certain things really fast. I'm not sure. So
Yeah,
that
I,
was the
would,
first thing
I
that just
wouldn't
came to
call
mind.
that. Yeah, I wouldn't call that a fear. I would call that more of a habit. So that would be under repatterning, where you want to find a new way of expressing yourself.
Mm.
That may be more flexible, or and maybe it's specific to a certain type of listener, like your wife is, or it may be that other people will, once you kind of switch it around, maybe you'll find that other people say, "Oh, I love how you explained that."
Yeah, I guess it comes down to the communication styles and
Yeah,
patterns.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so that would fit in more of the repatterning
Mm-hmm.
process side of things. Okay.
Yeah, I would say things that go into like fear of speaking would be someone who says, "Oh my God, I people always tell me I speak too fast."
Hmm.
So I actually just heard this yesterday. And so what I would ask somebody is, what are you feeling when you speak fast? And this person actually said, well, I feel like I'm doing it so I can just like check it off. It's done.
Hmm.
Now, we didn't have a conversation to go further, but if we were, I would probably ask, well, where is this something that you felt like you had to do in school? Like, were you afraid that, I mean, it could be any number of things. When people say they speak too fast, number one, it could be that they were in environments where they thought they'd be interrupted. So they want to get it out so that nobody can interrupt them. So if they stopped or paused, someone might come in. And maybe they grew up in a large family, or maybe they were in I don't know, it could be, I could make up any number of environments, maybe a teacher that they feel like they was going to come at them if they didn't get it all out. It
Yeah.
could, so that is one example of where speaking too fast comes from, or it could just be, like general nervousness that, just like your pacing, it's the way that somebody has learned to adapt to that fear of taking up space, taking up time, knowing that they have the mic and no one is going to interrupt them. And if they do, it doesn't bother them.
Have you noticed that people say similar things, or is it different every time? For example, I speak too fast. Do people usually say some of the same things, or is it completely different each time of their own reasoning or their own story?
I think that it's usually one of a couple of things. Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, like, as you know, everybody has a different life story. So it could be any number of things. People, um, let's say someone who's told they're speaking too softly. I mean, it could be somebody who, I know someone whose father worked at night. So during the day, everyone was admonished, speak quietly. You don't want to wake up your dad. And so they felt like, and maybe I'm saying it in a nice way, maybe it wasn't said in a nice way. And so it became a fear. Or it could be someone who were told, you're such a chatterbox. Don't talk so much. Or
Mm.
maybe you were told, don't speak back to your elders, or what you're saying is trash. I mean, it could be any number of things. For me, actually, I spoke quietly, and I realized it's because everyone in my family yelled and screamed. And I made a pact with myself that I would never be like that, because it was, number one, either mean or scary.
Yeah. Now, how did you come up with all of the things that you're teaching now? Like, as you're going through your own processing, right? Like, how did you figure this out? I'm just interested.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I went through it myself. I became my first client, and it was that day after 75 days live streaming on Periscope when I just had enough, and I thought, I've got to get rid of my fear. And I made a list of all the tools I had, because I thought, my God, here I am. I have a master's degree in expressive therapy, another degree in psychology. I've done a lot of personal development. I had a lot of tools, but I hadn't even thought to use them to get rid of the fear. I was only using them to manage the fear. And then I realized that managing the fear is different than getting rid of it. And I wanted to get rid of it. So once I realized that the problem wasn't about public speaking today, here and now, it was about what happened in the past, then I thought, okay, now I know how to deal with this. Now I can comb through my, what I call it, the psychic closet, not psychic in terms of like psychic phenomena, but psyche in terms of Jungian psychology, which is all of the place where all of our memories and experiences are stored. So I went through and I thought, okay, where did I feel diminished? Where did I feel put down? Where did I feel hurt? Where did I feel excluded? All these things. And as things came up, I dealt with it with, I used a process called emotional freedom technique. Some people know it as tapping. I used forgiveness. I used journaling, and I used dance. And, for me, Kit, after 5 days, I was done. It was gone. And I didn't think about, oh, this is what I want to help people with. I was just happy that I didn't have to deal with it anymore. But after some months, I started thinking, oh my gosh, I bet other people have this issue. I don't know if what I do will help them, but I should explore this. So I did. I put it out. I said, who's dealing with this? Do you want to try out my method? And it seemed to work. And it was actually, when I started, it was just for camera, people who are getting on camera. And then I had a few people come to me who said, can you do this for public speaking? At the time when we were getting together. And I said, I don't know, but let's try. And it turned out it worked for them too. And then I had someone who came to me for imposter syndrome, and it helped for her too. So I think that this process, it really is kind of broad in some ways. It's helping us to deal with our past so we can be in the present and really move into the future the way we want.
Would you say, Linda, that it's impossible to move forward until we look into the past? Would you
No,
say?
I think it depends upon the person. It depends how much stuff we have that's hanging on without our realizing it. So, I've grown tremendously over the years before I came to this, but I have to say that once I got over it, what I've been doing now has accelerated. And that's what I see what happens with people is that, yes, of course, we move forward in different ways. Public speaking is not the only way that we move forward to be visible even. You can write books, you can write blogs, you can be a great email, newsletter writer. There are lots of, you can be an artist, you can do lots of different things, but it's kind of like we're going around the hump. And I think that, it's just helpful. It's kind of like, it's nice just to clean the house.
Yeah.
It's just nice to clean the house. And not that yes, of course we can move forward, and not everybody has to do this. This isn't everybody's, requirement. But if you are dealing with the fear of public speaking, if you're feeling awkward on camera and you feel like, oh my God, the idea of people seeing this video just weirds me out, then yes, take a look at why. And it will be huge for you to get to the other side and have that inner freedom in it, that you can just be you and you're not feeling like you're getting triggered all the time. It is a joy and it's a pleasure.
Yes. And everyone that's watching this, I hope that you are loving what Linda is saying. This is just the beginning of the conversation. And I often say this because this is, if you want to learn more about becoming a speaker, getting over anxiety, and really cleaning your house physically, and physically your house too, maybe one day, definitely follow Linda. And Linda, where's the best place to keep the conversation going on with you?
You can reach out to me on my website or social media, Linda Ugelow. I'm just everywhere with the same handle.
Linda, usually at the end of my interviews, I like to ask our guests, what's your 1 minute message of of the topic of the day, how to survive and thrive at public speaking, how to get over speaking anxiety. So Linda, what would you say is your 1 minute message?
I would say to honor wherever you are, and that to believe in yourself and to be your own advocate. Find a way to be on your own side and trust that wherever you are on the journey is just fine. and you will move forward with your, if you have the desire, you will find your way moving forward.
Yes. Linda, thank you once again for being on this interview with us. And that was a great message. Linda, thank you once again. And for everyone that's tuning in, thank you for listening and watching. Everyone, have a great day now.
So long, everyone.